Tens of thousands of people continue to queue to pay their final respects to Queen Elizabeth. The line to see her lying in state stretches almost 8 kilometres at the moment, from Westminster Hall right past Tower Bridge.
It's been 3-4 hours or so that we've been in this queue, and we've powered through it.
The only Queen we've ever known, so it's such an honour to come.
I've taken 1 week off without working, without pay, to come and show my respect.
Overnight, our time, the newly minted Prince and Princess of Wales met with well-wishers outside Sandringham Estate. William revealed taking part in the funeral procession was a challenge. It made him think of his mum, Princess Diana.
Doing the walk yesterday was challenging. Back a few memories. It's kind of these moments. I know about prepared.
And details of the Queen's funeral at Westminster Abbey have been announced. Buckingham Palace says the service will include personal touches added by the Queen herself. Well, Lisa is in London with our UK correspondent, Lisa McDonald. Good to see you both. Lisa, I sort of thought you might be stuck in a queue by about now.
No, I've decided not to, Hamish, and there's a very good reason for that. As you mentioned, that queue extends about 8 kilometres all the way down to Tower Bridge, and the wait time at the moment, according to the live queue tracker that everybody is watching very closely, is 14 hours. So you've really got to be committed and in it for the long haul. So lots of people, Lucy, really wanting to get their moment before the queue cut-off time. Yeah. No one's exactly sure when that is going to be, but there's another reason why the crowds are growing even more than normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, officials are now saying to people that they're nearly at capacity, the queue is at the moment, so if they can wait, they should wait, but I don't think people are going to wait. People are seeing this as their last chance. Of course, we've heard that King Charles and his siblings will all be doing the vigil of the princess at 7:30 this evening. That's an added draw for people. We know that William and Harry will be doing that tomorrow. So this advice that officials are giving, I can't see people listening, because this might be their last chance to come and see the Queen's coffin.
And they're talking about the dwell time, which is that period of time that people take a moment to have their moment, and they think that while the princes are on guard and the king, that dwell time is only going to grow.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, this concept of dwell time, isn't it? All the things that are factored into this vast queue, and I think they learnt that from the Queen Mother's lying in state. But of course, if you know that Charles is going to be there at 7:30 and you're there at 7, you're going to mill around a bit longer, aren't you? Because you want to see history in action.
And a few people are trying to break the rules.
Oh, yes. Well, I've had 2 funny stories this morning. One was I bumped into a couple of tourists talking to a police officer at the back of the queue saying, "Can we come in? We hear the Queen's coffin is here." And the police officer pulled out his phone and went, "It's a 5-mile queue that way," and their faces just dropped. But it's also been reported this morning that officials have stopped 6 people who were carrying small dogs in their coats and trying to get them in to the lying of state.
There are rules about what you can take in. Dogs weren't on the official list of what you can't take in. I saw someone this morning who was taking in her mother's ashes, obviously her late mother's ashes, because her mother was a huge fan of the Queen. And I saw somebody at 3 o'clock this morning on the live feed whip out a camera, their phone, and take a quick shot and put it back in. We don't know what happened to that woman. As far as I know, it wasn't off with your head. But obviously, everyone wanting to get their moment. Now, Lucy, we're just 3 days before the funeral, and there are details being released about proceedings. What more do we know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know it's going to be the biggest gathering of world leaders for quite some time. One official's described it as 100 state visits at once. Now, we know some of those leaders are going to be arriving from 8 o'clock on Monday morning, although the funeral itself doesn't start until 11. But at 10:35, there'll be a procession of the coffin from Westminster Hall behind us. The King and his siblings, William and Harry, will be following that coffin. And then the funeral service is expected to last an hour. At the end, there's going to be a 2-minute silence. They're actually stopping planes flying across London for 40 minutes during that time. And we know that the Queen has had quite a lot of input into her own funeral. She's requested that her piper plays a lament, and we think she's also had, a say in musical choices and the readings. And then after the funeral, there'll be a procession to Windsor. Big Ben will toll, and there'll be people lining the streets, armed forces. It's actually going to go very close to my house. So I've got friends and neighbours who are going to be standing outside with cups of tea, glasses of champagne to toast the Queen as she makes her way to Windsor for that final time.
Lovely gesture. And King Charles has made a one-off but very significant decision about both Andrew and Harry's involvement in proceedings.
Yeah, absolutely. As we know and we've seen, they haven't been allowed to wear any kind of military uniform. But for this very poignant Vigil of the Princes, now that's happening tonight at 7:30 with King Charles and his siblings, but also tomorrow with William and Harry and their cousins. And both Harry and Andrew have been granted leave, granted permission to wear their full military honours.
Okay, just quickly, do we know when the official mourning period ceases?
It's officially, there's 7 more days. Parliament resumes on Thursday. There's actually a private family burial on Monday night. And I imagine in those 7 days, the family will really take time to retrench and gather their strength.
Lisa McDonald, always great to hear from you. And Hamish, one interesting little tidbit. Apparently, the unofficial mourning period extends well into next year, and it's only then that the coronation of King Charles will take place.